On Government Order of the Day number 2.
Prisoners and Victims Claims, Continuation and Reform Amendment Bill, second reading.
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Chester Borrows.
Mr Speaker, I move that the Prisoners and Victims Claims Continuation and Reform Amendment Bill now be read a second time. Let me first extend my thanks to the Justice and Electoral Committee for its work on this bill. The committee received 7 submissions on the bill and has recommended that it proceed without amendment. The Prisoners and Victims Claims Continuation and Reform Amendment Bill makes 3 main changes to the Prisoners and Victims Claims Act 2005. First, it repeals the sunset clauses in the Act so that the Act will no longer effectively expire. Second, it makes a small change in the civil limitation periods for victim claims for their benefit. And third, it clarifies that the Act applies to unlawful detention claims. The Prisoner and Victims Claims Act 2005 provides for awards of financial compensation to be made to prisoners only in extraordinary circumstances where no other remedy is deemed appropriate. Prisoners are also required to make use of the existing complaint mechanisms that are available to them before they seek compensation through the courts. If financial compensation is awarded to a prisoner, or if a settlement agreement is entered into, the Act requires that deductions are made to pay any legal aid debt in relation to the claim, any outstanding reparation and any earlier orders in favour of victims. The Act then allows victims of the prisoner to claim against the money through a simplified victims claims process. Without this bill, the Act would effectively expire. The statutory guidelines and restrictions on awarding compensation and deductions and the simplified victims claims process would no longer apply to prisoners' claims lodged from July 1, 2013. The bill will ensure that the judiciary has clear guidance to the circumstances in which Parliament intends that compensation should be available to prisoners, and this will avoid any potential inconsistency. The bill will also ensure that victims continue to have first claim against any such compensation awards to prisoners. The Act responded to community concerns that offenders should not receive financial compensation for wrongful treatment without first having to redress the harm that they had caused to victims themselves. The simplified victims claims process does not create any new rights for victims to bring claims. Victims always have the option of bringing a civil claim against their offender. However, the victims claims process provides an easy and cost-effective way for them to do so. In circumstances where the prisoner has the means to pay at least some of the damages due to the victim and while the Crown has control of that money. The bill also ensures that victims will not be disadvantaged by any administrative delays. It stops the clock on the civil limitation period for victims' claims while the Ministry of Justice assesses the level of deductions to be made, such as for legal aid repayments, and when necessary resolves disputes about those amounts. Finally, the bill includes a clarification for the avoidance of doubt that the Act applies to prisoner claims of unlawful detention. These claims arise from time to time, generally when a prisoner is held beyond their statutory release date due to an administrative error. It always has been the intent and practice that unlawful detention claims, like other breaches of prisoners' rights, be subject to the Act. The best way to prevent compensation payments is to ensure abuse does not occur. Prisoner mistreatment will not and should not be tolerated. I would like to reiterate that the Government has great confidence in the ongoing integrity and professionalism of corrections staff working in New Zealand prisons. However, if breaches do occur, it is important that we have a fair and appropriate regime that balances the rights of prisoners and their victims. This bill provides for the continuation of that regime, and I commend the bill to the House.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr Speaker.